Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at the latest Chris Brown project titled Indigo. This is the follow-up album to Chris Brown's 2017 double LP Heartbreak on a Full Moon, which this album's not as long, but it's certainly an ambitious project, just like Heartbreak on a Full Moon. Both of these projects are really a huge undertaking for Chris Brown because they're long. Over 2 hours of material is on Indigo, spanned across 32 tracks. Jesus Christ. So Chris Brown had a lot of stuff in his past, that's fine, but I'm still gonna review it, and hold on. Brown was driving a vehicle with Robin F. as the front passenger on an unknown street in Los Angeles. Robin F. picked up Brown's cellular phone and observed a 3-page text message from a woman who Brown had a previous sexual relationship with. A verbal argument ensued and Brown pulled the vehicle over on an unknown street, reached over Robin with his right hand, opened the car door, and attempted to force her out. Brown was unable to force Robin out of the vehicle because she was wearing a seatbelt. When he could not force her to exit, he took his right hand and shoved her head against the passenger window of the vehicle, causing an approximate 1-inch raised circular contusion. Robin turned to face Brown, and he punched her in the left eye with his right hand. He then drove away in the vehicle and continued to punch her in the face with his right hand while steering the vehicle with his left. The assault caused Robin's mouth to fill up with blood and blood to splatter all over her clothing and the interior of the vehicle. Brown looked at Robin and stated, "I'm gonna beat the shit out of you when we get home. You wait and see." The detective said Robin then used her cell phone to call her personal assistant, who did not answer. Robin pretended to talk to her and stated, "I'm on my way home, make sure the police are there when I get there." After Robin F. faked a phone call, Brown looked at her and stated, "You just did the stupidest thing ever. Now I'm really going to kill you." Brown resumed punching Robin, and she interlocked her fingers behind her head and brought her elbows forward to protect her face. She then bent over at the waist, placing her elbows and face near her lap in an attempt to protect her face and head from the barrage of punches being levied upon her by Brown. Brown continued to punch Robin F. in her left arm and hand, causing her to suffer a contusion on her left triceps that was approximately 2 inches in diameter and numerous contusions on her left hand. Robin then attempted to send a text message to her other personal assistant. Brown snatched the cellular telephone out of her hand and threw it out of the window on an unknown street. Brown continued driving, and Robin observed his cell phone sitting on his lap. She picked up the cell phone with her left hand. Before she could make a call, he placed her in a headlock with his right hand and continued to drive the vehicle with his left hand. Brown pulled Robin close to him and bit her on her left ear. She was able to feel the vehicle swerving from right to left as Brown sped away. He stopped the vehicle in front of 333 North June Street, and Robin turned off the car, removed the key from the ignition, and sat on it. Brown did not know what she did with the key and began punching her in the face and arms, then placed her in a headlock, positioning the front of her throat between his bicep and forearm. Brown began applying pressure to Robin's neck up here with these 2 arteries, causing her to be unable to breathe, and she began to lose consciousness. She reached up with her left hand and began attempting to gouge his eyes out in an attempt to free herself. Brown bit her left ring and middle fingers and then released her. While Brown continued to punch her, she turned around and placed her back against the passenger door. She brought her knees to her chest, placed her feet against Brown's body, and began pushing him away. Brown continued to punch her in her legs and feet, causing several contusions. Robin began screaming for help as Brown exited the car and walked away. A resident of the neighborhood heard Robin's plea for help and called 911, causing a police response. An investigation was conducted, and Robin F. was issued a domestic violence emergency protection order. I read that entire police report for you on the night Chris Brown assaulted Robin Fenty, aka Rihanna. Now, that was February of 2009, just hours before they went on, Grammys. I understand Chris Brown and Rihanna, Chris Brown apologized. Rihanna accepted his apology. And if that was it, I would actually be reviewing this album right now. I would. But I'm not. I didn't even listen to the thing. I'm not going to. I'm not going to spend my time listening to someone who has pages. Not pages. This is obviously just notes, but just this stuff probably has a multitude of charges against him, a multitude of allegations against him within the past decade, since 2009. I'm just going to read off all the notes that I have. February 2009, Brown assaults Rihanna. March of 2009, Brown's charged with felony assault and making criminal threats. He pled guilty to the assault and accepted a plea deal of, get this, community labor, 5 years of probation, and counseling. Usually a normal person would get 5 years in prison or something for that. I'm not too sure, I don't know the laws, but they wouldn't get community labor, 5 years of probation, and counseling. They wouldn't get that. March 2011, in a Good Morning America interview, Brown stormed off the stage into a dressing room, threw an object out a window, and was being unruly and confrontational. He left the Good Morning America sound stage and building and all that without a shirt on. June 2012, Brown and Drake, with Drake's entourage, had an altercation at a nightclub. Around 8 people were injured, and that obviously falls on both Brown and Drake. So I'm not going to blame Brown completely on that one, but still. January 2013, Brown and Frank Ocean had an altercation over a parking spot in West Hollywood at a studio. And over a parking spot, Frank Ocean told police that Brown punched Frank Ocean, but Frank Ocean didn't write a report on it. And I don't know why. I don't feel like Frank Ocean would lie about something like that. So I could be wrong. Frank Ocean could be a liar, but that's just an example of one that could possibly be a Brown assault. June 2013, Brown was arrested for assaulting a woman in a San Diego nightclub. The same month, he was charged with a hit and run. October 2013, Brown and his bodyguard are arrested and charged with assault when 2 men outside a D.C. hotel asked him for a photo. September 2015, Brown forcibly ejected a woman from his bus when she refused to give up her cell phone. She was not part of the crew that was doing something at the time, so the reasonable response that Brown did was to forcibly eject her from the bus. That's the reasonable thing. August 2016, this is the big one. A woman accused Brown of threatening her with a gun. This led to a standoff with the Los Angeles Police Department, where afterwards he was detained. During this, he was posting to social media asserting his innocence. He was charged with assault using a deadly weapon, but was released after posting a $250,000 bond. February 2017, Brown's ex, Karuchi Tran, gets a restraining order that is then made permanent in June of 2017 for threatening to kill her. April 2017, police opened an investigation after a photographer claimed Brown punched him in the face. July 2018, Brown was arrested for felony battery in a Palm Beach nightclub. Believe like that. This is the 4th arrest that Brown had, and he's banned from New Zealand, Australia, and the United Kingdom. Now, if after what I just said, you still are a Chris Brown fan, well, let me set this straight. If you're a Chris Brown fan, you would have gone off this video completely in the comments down below saying, because you didn't get the entire video. But if you're a Chris Brown fan watching the entire video, after reading that, you're just, I don't know if you're a lost cause or not, but you're certainly close to one. You're certainly close to a lost cause, because I would be a fan of Chris Brown if he not only put out good music, but if he made an effort to become a better human being. If you continue to say, well, he's always working on improving, decade after decade, well, it's been 1 decade, but year after year, he continues to have assault charges and just charges in general. Obviously, a lot of celebrities have charges and all that stuff, but not on the amount of Chris Brown. Very rarely do celebrities have that many charges against them, and it's an assault charge. The only one that comes to mind are like Bill Cosby and R. Kelly. I mean, come on. Those ones are obvious. They are obvious. These ones seem to be a little more obvious as well. Not as obvious as R. Kelly or Bill Cosby, but it is just ridiculous, at least for me, to look at Chris Brown, look at his criminal history, and say, he hasn't really done much that bad. Or, I'll still listen to his music, I'll contribute to the money that he makes and all this stuff. And you could also say, well, you have to separate the art from the artist, but I don't see that point, really, because when the art becomes the artist, that's when you can't be able to separate them. It's kind of like separating salt and water. It's hard. You got to boil away the water. In the end, I'm not going to listen to this. I'm not going to review it, and I'm not going to mention Chris Brown ever again in a video unless he changes his lifestyle. And with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this album down below. If you actually listened to it. If you did, let me know, because I'm not listening to it. Yeah. Let me know what albums you want me to review next, and that's it. Chris Brown, Indigo. Until next time.